Behind me is my largest project yet, a massive steampunk city that took me over 300 hours to complete. And in this video, I'll be showing you the entire process of me building this insane city from the ground up. Any large project like this needs a base, so I began working with an application called World Painter, where I created the landscape for this project. Once I was finished, I loaded up the world and began cleaning up any mishaps and began pasting in some trees. The next and arguably most important part of the build were the buildings. You can't really have a city without them. So I made a couple different variations of houses, and once they're all built, I pasted them throughout the landscape. Once that was done, the build really began coming together, and it really said how big of a project this was. I spent 40 hours on the houses alone. But I could see it on. The city how it was on the street was very bland. There was no form of life through the streets. Everything was empty. The solution to this? Street decor. I did this in the background not to bore you with the details. All I was doing was placing in market stands, fire pits, benches, and other things that made the city seem alive. Plus, some houses I had full stories, including these few. Now, before we can work on the centerpiece of this city, my most insane, most detailed structure I've ever made, we have to focus on the other side of the city, where the ground is scorched by a distant past, where ruins remain. The first thing I built over here was a large factory building, which is the primary production and demolition center for the city. I started by making the general shape with Axiom and started detailing each section thoroughly. While I work on this, I will tell you some of the lore for this city. To begin, the factory was one of the first things built by this new civilization. During its construction, the people rebelled and attempted to prevent its construction. Yet, any would-be rebellion was desecrated by the new dictators. These dictators were very powerful people who had themselves a god complex due to their abilities. Despite the citizen spirits, the gods prevailed, and the ruined city set an example to any would-be rebellions. Now we have finished every part of the city besides the centerpiece, a massive steampunk cathedral floating in the sky. I started with the basic shapes just like I did with the factory, yet this was much more intricate, so I had to spend way more time on it, doing manual work, cleaning up edges, but in the end, it turned out great. By the way, if you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. I want to make this into my job, and if you could, I really would appreciate it. Thank you. This cathedral is where the godlike dictators reside, taking the godly look to a whole new level. These three men resembled the god of the earth, the god of hell, and the god of the sun. There was another god previously, the god of the moon, but he left the group as he saw their corrupt methods firsthand. Now, he is the leader of the underground rebellion that is currently based in a different city apart from this one. Which brings us to the main character of this story, the avatar of the moon god. He is the son of the original, yet his master of the moon god's powers are not as advanced, so he has to wear a blindfold or the moon god will take over. Which gives me a chance to explain the power system in this world. Each person is born with a power that unlocks at the age of 10, their elemental eye, which gives them the power that can vary from any type of element, water, fire, metal, etc. Only very few people have god eyes. Our main character was captured by the government to be experimented on after the gods killed his mother, the previous moon god, which transfers the power to the offspring after she died. They tried extracting the moon god's power to use for themselves, but they took too long. He turned 10 years old and the moon god tore out and killed every last scientist. Now he holds a vendetta against the gods. Now that you know the basis of the lore, we can finish up the rest of the cathedral. Now that I've gone over everything, you may notice how this world is very similar to Shovel 2 for 1 series. Which, yes, I was heavily inspired by it, but he is much better at building than me, but I wanted to try and bring my own world to life as well. I know everyone's going to ask if there's going to be a world download for this build, and the answer is yes. It will be available on my Patreon, link is in the description. So you'll be able to download this build and all my previous builds there. To any long-term viewers of mine, you may notice that I've not posted in a while. That is due to some things that came up in my life, which thankfully they're all good now, but it really held me back from making videos. I'll be starting making videos again. I'm hoping to be able to release them every month, so look forward to that. I also made a second channel, which is going to be doing more variety content, pretty much anything other than Minecraft, so you can go check that out. Link will be in the description. And yeah. And with that, I've built my largest project yet, a massive steampunk city that took over 300 hours.
Bye.